What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about why dealerships lose money. Now, I'm not going to be talking about other stories I've heard from dealers or what's going on in the news. I'm going to tell you from my personal experience. I've lost a lot of money through the years. Now, if a dealership or a dealer ever tells you he never loses money from buying cars, selling cars, financing, recon, he is absolutely full of BS. Now, it's very important that we be transparent on this channel, so I think it's a good way to learn from my personal mistakes so dealers like yourself and also consumers can hear this and not make the same mistakes that I did. And this is part of the channel, is being transparent and showing everything in the automotive industry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I think this one will be a very fun video, so make sure you stay tuned. And I guess this is kind of my 200K Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, anything, please put them in the comment section below. I'm going to take a lot of these questions, and I'm going to be doing a video probably next week for our 200,000 subscriber Q&A special. But without any more further shameless plugging, let's get into the video. Now, when I started in the automotive industry, I was 15 years old, flipping cars in my parents' driveway. Now, when I started this, I knew I had a love and a passion for cars. So I figured during my high school years, I would try to meet and learn as much as I can about the automotive industry. I talked to dealers, mechanics, wholesalers, brokers, bankers, everything I possibly could. So by the time I got out of high school, I knew enough knowledge that I could bypass a lot of people's headaches. And yes, they did teach me a lot, and I heard a lot of their horror stories, and it let me learn from them. But I'm here to tell you right now that if you are in the automotive industry, I don't care if you're selling cars, buying cars, you're fixing cars, you want to start a body shop, you are going to make mistakes and you are going to lose money. You are only human. You can't know it all. Even though after 3 years of educating myself, I still messed up almost on a daily basis. Now, it took me years and years to get to the point where I'm at today, but I think it's very important to let people know and to be transparent about your failures and your mistakes. This is how we learn. This is how we grow. So today I'm going to share a handful of my funny ones just as a thank you guys so much for hitting 200,000 subscribers. Now, one of my first mistakes was not understanding business finance. Now, I was so focused on learning cars, I didn't do the fundamentals of business, and this cost me a lot. When I went to go sign my first lease for my shop, everybody told me no. I had no credit, no co-signer, and I didn't have any types of lines of credit. And it made it very, very hard. I ended up paying 3 months security deposit, and they charged me an extra $200 a month because I was a new person. Now, to avoid all that headache, while you get started in your industry, I don't care if you're starting a dealership, body shop, mechanic shop, get a mobile mechanic license, get accounts with like O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Napa, whatever you can. Get a few secure credit cards. You can go to Discover, Wells Fargo, your local credit union. Give them $300-$400. They will give you a credit card in return. Pay it for 6 months. They usually give you the money back. Things like this was very important, and it costed me a lot of money. I missed out on some amazing shops and amazing dealerships because I financially wasn't ready. Even though I had the money and I could afford it, I could not prove it on paper because of either taxes, having enough credit, or having enough vendors to vouch for my credibility. Now, the next thing is going to be a little bit controversial. It's being too kind to customers. Now, when I first started my automotive shop, I almost went bankrupt in my first year because I went over and above to help my customers. I thought I was going to set the trend because you always hear people, oh, I hate mechanics. They're shady. They're not taking care of me. So I was like, I'm going to be the guy that's always take care of the customer. Customers are number one. Customers will take advantage of you more than the dealerships or anybody in the automotive industry ever will. What I mean by this is you could literally, we used to do this all the time. We would change somebody's headlight bulbs and then they would blame us for, oh, the radio's not working. We're like, sir, ma'am, that's two different separate systems. One doesn't have nothing to do, well, my radio worked fine before you changed the headlights. I'm going to sue you. So we would fix the radio. Customers would come in, oh, I heard a squeak, I heard it rattle. I would spend hours searching for it. I'd pay other people to look for it. Some people would come in, oh, well, I don't like the way my car was done. Well, why don't you like the way it was done? It's running and driving good. Well, I want you to pay Mercedes to look at my car so I make sure it's fine. So I would spend the money. I would spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every single month to make sure that the customer was happy because I thought I was doing the right thing. But come to find out, I learned that there are people that will complain just to get something for free. Now, I know this is going to trigger a lot of people, but it's very true. Customers will try to take advantage of you more so than actual dealerships and shady mechanics, believe it or not. So find that fine line. You want to take care of customers if they're good customers, everything else. I always tell people, hey, if you have a problem with the car, bring it in. We'll look at it for free. If it's something small I can take care of, great. If it costs a little bit of money, I'm like, hey, folks, you buy the part. I'll take care of the labor. I'll do something justified to help them out. But do not kill yourself to try to help out customers, because if you spend $60 changing, let's say, headlights and maybe changing a battery, and next thing you know, they're blaming you because you couldn't properly diagnose their alternator, and they want you to pay for it because you made the mistake. Don't do it, because it'll cost you so much money, and being kind does not pay you any benefits and will not help you pay any bills in the future. But first, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Drift. I wanted to share a cool new product that I found in the fragrance category. And this happens to be one of Scentbird's sister companies, so you guys know how much I love Scentbird and everything they do. This is Drift. Drift creates air care products for your home and vehicle. Their car care products include stone fresheners, wood fresheners, as well as metal ones. And for your home, they have candles, reeds, and sprays. Drift is truly a one-stop shop to make your car and home smell amazing. Also, Drift uses premium essential plus fragrant oil blends, free of harmful chemicals that traditional fragrance companies use. So it's very important for me to keep up with appearances, so I always make sure that my car is very clean and it's always smelling nice with Drift. Now, teak is my favorite smell. I got one of these in each of my cars. But the cool thing about Drift, it's a subscription-based air freshener. So this way, every 30 days, you get a brand new scent delivered directly to you. And you can always change whatever scent you want. You can even change the frequency of your delivery. So if you want more, less, it's totally up to you. And you can cancel your subscription at any time. But I highly recommend you keep this and you try out all the scents. They have a special scent every single month. Guys, it's very important that you make sure that your car smells good, whether it's for your clients or your girlfriend. So make sure you use my coupon code LL55 to get 55% off your first month subscription. So make sure you click the link down below. And I want to thank Drift so much for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. Another big mistake that I made was not sticking to my lane. What I mean by my lane was I basically grew up fixing cars. So when I first started out in the car industry, I used to buy a lot of cars with bad head gaskets, bad transmissions, some sort of mechanical issue where I could buy it, fix it, and sell it and make a pretty decent profit. And so I always did that. But what happened is I started watching TV shows, started seeing everyone else making money. Well, this guy makes money flipping motorcycles. This guy makes money flipping classic cars. I'm going to do it because somehow we all think that we're smarter than everybody else. So I started doing the same thing. I didn't focus on what I was good at. I didn't spend more time being a master of that one thing. So what did I do? My gravy train that I was flipping and selling cheap cars and building that up, I got away from that and I started buying classic cars. I got a few motorcycles, some boats, some weird stuff that I had no business selling. And I basically just got away from what I was good at. And little by little, you start burning up money, you start taking up time. And this is when you realize that time is money. If you are good in one particular thing, that is okay. Stick to that lane and become a master of it. Now, I'm not saying you have to only do that. You can always dabble outside. But what I did is I stopped the gravy train and I jumped on the ship of fixing classic cars, motorcycles, expensive cars, and it bit me in the ass. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made back in 2008. And thank God that when I was able to sell everything before the recession hit, and it pretty much wiped everybody out. Also, when I started the body shop, I have a lot of funny stories about not educating myself when it comes to employing people. People will lie to you about their qualifications to try to make the most money and make the most they can before you have to fire them. I don't know why this is. There's so many people out there. I'm a master mechanic. I'm a master painter, body guy, whatever else. You know, I want $2,000 a week and I'm worth it and you'll see. And so you give them the money and they just are absolute garbage. Now, I was pretty lucky. I only had maybe one or two of these people in my 20-year career. So I was fortunate. Usually you could spot bullshit right away. But I was actually in the shop working with them, where most owners are kind of outside looking in, absentee owners, and these guys can get away for months, if not weeks. Mechanics not knowing what they're doing, damaging your cars, costing you more money. We had a guy, not my shop, but my friend's shop, where the guy said he was a professional motor builder. They gave him 6 motors to build. They paid him, I think, $1,000 for each motor. He rebuilt them all and then just never showed back up after he got paid. Once they put them in the customers' cars, it started knocking after a few minutes. It wasn't done right. They were rattling, falling apart, just all kinds of problems. But there's people out there that will take advantage of you if you don't know what you're looking at. Body guys. I've had guys, man, I know how to work metal. I'm amazing. I'll make that thing look like great. But instead of, working the sheet metal, let's say if you have a big dent, they work the sheet metal to pull it out and put a very thin amount of Bondo. So this way, body filler, so it's not too bad. They will literally not even pull out the dent. They'll just cake the Bondo on there, smear it, and send it on the road. Now, when they get paid, that's all they want. They want to make the money. But you, as the dealership, as the auto repair shop, and as the body shop, you are legally liable for sometimes up to 2 years after a repair, depending on your state and if you did it for insurance company or warranty company. And these were the things that were coming back, biting us in the ass. We had a guy that, like I said he did great body work. We got a few cars back. As the Bondo dried, it cracked, and there was cracks in people's paint. I spent thousands of dollars repainting cars that I shouldn't have had to. But it was a great learning lesson. Now I make sure I watch them apply the chemicals. I watch them do all this stuff. So when you're hiring new people, they may talk a good game. And if you don't know the automotive industry, don't let anybody fool you. Watch them and hound them. And you'll see little by little, they'll screw up and they'll cost you a lot of money. So don't be afraid to, one, learn more about what you need to hire somebody for. Watch them like a hawk, and don't be afraid to let them go if they think they're costing you so much money. So let's go ahead and talk about my mistakes as a rental car company. Now, when I first started, the only reason I got my license was because as I was doing insurance work, we were giving out free rental cars with every repair. And that's what was giving us so much business. So people would have to wait, 20, 30, 40 days for some parts on back order. It didn't matter. We would give them a car to drive and we would get the insurance work. Worked out great. But I decided to start renting out to the general public, and that's where my mistakes started happening. First one was I didn't set up my insurance correctly. So when they crashed one of my cars, I almost got sued. They wound up not paying me for my car, and the customer even tried to sue me at the end of that. So it was very important to learn the correct way of do that. How did I do this? I researched it, went down to the city, got everything correctly done, and set myself up for success. I started going down and renting cars to everybody on the strip. I had contracts with body shops, rental car companies, whenever they had any type of overflow or needed a rental vehicle. And it worked out really good. But I did have some problems along the way. I had people steal my cars. I had one person take my car to California and leave it there. I didn't have a GPS. It took us 2 months to find it. So after that, every car came with a GPS. I've had cars where they literally took them to Mexico and got them impounded by the DEA because they were either smuggling drugs or smuggling people. All kinds of crazy stuff. But this is some of the stuff you learn when this happens. Now, if I see that, I tip the auto shut off, and then next time they stop, the car shuts off. Back in the day, we had fuel pump shut offs. We would just shut you off in the middle of the freeway. But now they don't make those anymore. But we learned from this, so this way we never had to lose another car. Now, fast forward to dealerships. I've made a ton of mistakes in the dealership world because during this whole time, we're talking about, 7, 8 years in the car business, I figured I knew enough about dealerships from fixing their cars and talking to them and listening to their mistakes. I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know more about fixing cars, buying cars, and selling cars than any of these dealers do. And when I got in there, I sold a lot of cars, but I did not focus on the paperwork. I did not focus on the financing, and it bit me in the ass. When I first sold my first 30 cars, I did 30 cars in 2 weeks, our first month opening. We were super excited, but I didn't know what was called a title float. A title float is when you sell a car and the bank will fund you, but they only give you basically one paycheck for every title they receive. And sometimes it could take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get the funding for the titles. So every time I would send in a title, they would give me a check, and then I have to wait another few days, do the exact same thing. So make a long story short, I didn't focus on my paperwork, and it took me months to get paid on the cars that I sold in 2 weeks. It slowed down my sales, hurt me a lot. It even hurt me, I think my 6 months into the car business where I was selling a lot of cars and I could never keep up with my financing. I was selling more and I wasn't paying attention to the financing. So that was one of the things that bit me in the ass. I had to buy back deals. Some of the deals I bought back, the customers would not bring back the cars. They just took off. That's something you have to deal with. I also talk about buybacks. Buybacks is a big thing that dealers have to deal with. What it means is if I sell you a car and you have bad credit, the bank could say they want a 2-payment default, which means that if you don't make your first 2 payments, I have to buy that car back. And unfortunately, I've had quite a few of those through the years. People would literally buy the car, not make a single payment, and just take off. And now it's up to me to go find that person to get my car back, but the bank doesn't care because I got to get them a check for $10, $20, $30, $40,000, whatever the car was worth, and whatever they gave me, that's what I'd have to eat. And I ate a lot of those through my years. Now, some were just mistakes, some were fraud, some were intentional, but that's part of the business. Now I protect myself. If I see too many risks, I will say no to the contract. I will tell them to wind down the recourse. Instead of 2 months, I'll do 1 month, take $300 off my check, do some sort of negotiating where I'm not at risk like I was before. Another big one that cost me a lot of money, and I know a few of my sales guys watch this, are my salespeople. They would open their mouths and promise all kinds of stuff just to make the sale. You don't like that dent, ma'am? No problem. We're going to fix it. You don't like those tires? No problem. We're going to fix it. Oh, you don't like this? You don't like that? We're going to replace it. We're going to fix it. They're promising the world to get a sale because all they care about was their $200 to $500 commission. But it costed me thousands upon thousands of dollars every time they mentioned that. Like I had them like, oh, the guy doesn't like the tires. He doesn't like Firestone. So I told him we get him Toyos. I'm like, that's like $800 a tire. Oh, it's okay. You'll make money on this. I'm like, no, that's not the point. We don't want to waste money buying good tire or replacing good tires with just other tires. And so these are some things that'll bite you in the butt. Not only that, but I've actually had them where they lied to customers and literally the DMV came down and fined me $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 because one of my salespeople said something they weren't supposed to. It's not fair, it's not right, but that's part of the business. I had to learn this, so now I had to teach my people. Don't say dumb shit. Don't lie to the customers. If anything you say, write it on paper and get them to sign it, so this way they don't make a complaint and then the DMV doesn't come and try to fine me $30,000. Another thing that my sales guys did that drove me nuts was not collecting all the steps. That means your paperwork for the loan, so like your pay stubs, your proof of residency, references, stuff like that, simple things. They would take so long that the deal would kick back. And it drove me nuts. And the biggest thing was they were too lazy. After they sold the car, they needed to collect more down payments. We always had what's called PIK payments. So let's say you needed to buy this car. The bank says the customer's got $2,500, but we want $3,000. If the customer gives you $3,000, we'll roll the deal. So I'll put my own money. I'm like, okay, well, the customer's gonna be $25,000. They're gonna give me a check or they're gonna give me a promissory note. And they're gonna come back in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks and give me the $500. And then the salesman, once they get their commission, they don't care. And now I'm chasing these people. Hey, folks, I gave you the car. I need the $500. That's, the profit that we're making off this deal. It's very important you give that back to me. People don't care. They'll laugh. They'll walk off. They'll never talk to you again. Sorry, my phone's going off. They won't give you any type of help. And I remember my first year, $30,000 in PIK payments that weren't received. My second year, it went up to $60,000. My third year, it was over $100,000 in PIK payments. Now, you may be asking yourself, Lucky, why did you let this go on for so long? The only reason I did this is because by the third year, I was getting very good. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I started auditing myself for the past years. So I didn't know about my previous mistakes till I started looking at all these different things. But as I started catching all these little problems, I realized that, nobody's perfect. We all lose money, and it just happens. It's part of the business. Now, I would love for you guys to tell me some of the ways, if you're in the car business, how you lost money, some of the things that you had maybe tough times with, and even if you think that my stuff is very silly and your opinion is different from mine, go ahead and put it in the comments. I think it'd be great to hear from you guys, but I thought this would be kind of a funny video just to do because we do talk a lot about what other people's mistakes or what other people are doing, and you wonder why they're doing it. Now, some are blatantly obvious, but some of these things that I've told you, some of those are pretty obvious too. But the only reason I know is because I fell on my face, figured out what I did wrong, fixed it, and moved on. Now, normally I won't say anything about this stuff because we all learn, but if you're a knucklehead and you make the same mistake time after time, then there's something wrong. There's a trend, or you just don't care. And that's where we see with some of these big banks and these big dealer groups and, Carvana and all these other crazy people doing the same mistakes over and over again and not changing anything to make it a little bit easier and better. So whether you're a large franchise dealership watching this, or you're a small independent, or you're just somebody in your living room watching YouTube wondering, should I get started in this business? You should definitely do this. Everything I'm telling you is just to prepare you for what's going to come down. We're all going to lose money. We're all going to make mistakes. It's okay. But the best part is I absolutely love this industry. That's why I'm starting my dealership. I'm going to do an update video too with my 200 Q&A. But I just wanted to put this out there because, like I said, I thought it'd be a great video to follow up and just let you guys know how everything's going. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much. Once again, follow us on Instagram @LuckyLopez, and we'll see you next video.